partnered with Unbridled Media through Rockwood School District and Partners in Education. Over the course of this summer, I was able to step into the world of professional media production and explore how artificial intelligence technology is reshaping creative workflows. So to give you a roadmap of today's presentation, I'm going to start off by introducing the program itself, a little bit about myself, my mentor, and then my business partner. And then I'll cover some career insights I've learned about over the course of this summer. And then I'll jump into an overview about some of the goals that I had going into this internship. And then I'll dive into my personal experience and all the projects that I was able to work on before concluding with my outcomes and takeaways from my experience this summer. So first and foremost, about the program itself, Rockwood School District and Partners in Education both offer high school juniors going into their senior year a summer internship program in which students are able to gain hands-on and real-world experience in a professional field of their choice. It is a unique unpaid opportunity that allows students to be partnered with a real-world professional, and it allows them to basically test drive potential career paths before making big future decisions during their senior year. A little bit about myself is that I'm a rising senior at Marquette High School, and during my free time, some of my hobbies include drawing, painting, crafting, reading, and I love watching movies and TV shows. A fun fact about me is that generally when I pick up a book, I finish it within the day, and over the course of the summer, I've read around 40 books. And then, so my biggest career aspiration is that I want to work on feature films and TV series for large studios such as Disney or Pixar. And in order to achieve that, my plan is to pursue a Bachelor of Science in Computer Graphic Technology and at least a minor in AI, if not further my studies in AI when I'm in college. My business partner this summer was Unbridled Media, and their core mission lies in creating cinematic and story-driven content. They offer end-to-end production, so pre-production, scripting, filming and production, and then post-production, editing, animation, and motion graphics. And they've worked with several large-scale international brands such as Pepsi, Boeing, LinkedIn, the Grammys, and many more. A little bit about my mentor this summer. I had the privilege of being mentored by Ben Lamb, and Ben is the co-founder and executive producer here at Unbridled Media. And over nearly 11 years, he has played a major role in building this thriving agency by balancing both the strategic business development side of it and the hands-on on-site production side of it. He brings in a rich background in freelance producing, and he has quite the passion for integrating emerging technologies such as AI into the creative workflows. One of the most valuable experiences I had during this internship was interviewing industry veterans through career insight interviews. My first interview was with my mentor, Ben, and as I mentioned before, he's the executive producer and managing partner here at Unbridled Media. Through our discussion, he shared his journey in this industry, going from a freelance producer out in LA to eventually co-founding Unbridled Media here in St. Louis. And one of the most prevalent topics of our discussion was the rise of AI and how it's reshaping creative workflows. And my key takeaway from this particular interview was he offered me a new perspective about how AI is actually being used as a partner alongside traditional production methods rather than a complete human replacement. My second interview was with Joe Seebeck, and Joe is the producer and partner here at Unbridled Media. She shared his fascinating journey going from a job in finance to high-end videography and producing. And he offered me a lot of different pieces of advice, but I'd say the two main pieces of advice that I'd be taking away is that he said it's very important to figure out what you don't want to do with your life just as much as what you do want to do. And then another thing that I've probably already started implementing is that he said, especially in the creative industry, you have to have an open mind and be able to take feedback, whether it's from a creative director or a client or whoever it is, and be able to implement that into your work. My third and final interview was with Andy Arett, and Andy is the lead animator on the hit TV show South Park and a Cal Arts graduate. He'd emphasized the need to create a portfolio with tangible work and how that's probably more important than getting a degree itself when it comes to landing jobs and having long-term success. He also talked about how seemingly irrelevant jobs such as mowing lawns or working at McDonald's actually helped him a lot and are some of the most useful experiences in helping him build his work ethic and also allowing him to appreciate his job in animation much more from doing all of that work. And also he thinks that that's what gave him the longevity to last 25 years and become a lead animator on South Park. So now to take a look at the career path and outlook for the computer graphics and animation industry. Some of the top studios in this industry are ILM, Weta FX, Pixar, and Framestore, and the technical skills that these studios generally look for are being able to use programs such as Maya, Nuke, Houdini, After Effects, and as well as being able to collaborate with others. And while there isn't a set career path for every single subcategory within this industry, when I was doing my research, I saw that for an animator in particular, they would generally start off as a junior artist before going and being promoted to a lead supervisor and then working their way up to become a creative director. When looking at the horizon of the visual effects and animation industry, the key defining theme is evolution. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this industry is facing steady growth with about 5,000 openings every year nationwide. And while it is continuing to grow, the jobs are continuously changing and moving to industries like gaming, digital advertisement, and virtual production rather than the traditional film and TV production that we generally think of. And AI is obviously the biggest topic of conversation in this industry right now and how its potential takeover. But the most crucial thing to look at is that AI is being used as a creative partner, not a human replacement. And right now it is, as automation increases, it's only being used to do the repetitive heavy lifting such as automated denoising and real-time rendering. So the need for human storytellers isn't disappearing anywhere, rather it's just shifting in where the roles lie. So going into this internship, I had two particular goals. My first goal was to simply gain some sort of experience in the production pipeline and work with industry professionals. And this just to simply see if this is a good fit for me, if this is what I wanted to do, or if I was being delusional. And also gain any insights in order for me to be more informed in making decisions for college and my career path. And then my second goal was to learn how AI is being used by modern studios, because obviously the how AI is going to take over the creative industry is a big topic of conversation right now. So I wanted to see how it's possible to use AI and still have that human touch. And also I wanted to be able to learn forward-looking skills and position myself to be more adaptable in an evolving creative industry. So now that we've taken a look at the bigger picture, I wanted to hone in and talk about my personal experience during this internship. My official title was AI producer, and I was basically able to act as a bridge between generative AI tools and standard production, and I was able to work across both client and original content. Some of my responsibilities included prompt generation and optimization, building some sort of concrete workflow that worked well to work with AI, as well as producing AI-assisted video content that would allow me to and then document it all so that Unbridled Media could use it for reference in the future. I've listed some of the tools that I used on this, but I do dive a little bit in about each of them on the next slide. So these are all of the tools that I used over the course of the summer. So the main tool that I used every single day was Higgsfield. And Higgsfield is a large-scale AI platform for both video and image production. And within Higgsfield, there are several different AI models for both image and video production. And the one that I found that works the best for video production was Cdance 2.0. And that's the one that I used for, I think, most of the videos that I'll play for you guys today, and just most of the stuff that I made, because I realized over time, after experimenting with several of the models, that Cdance provided the best results, and it also listens to my instructions the best. And then for image generation, the best one was GPT Image 2, and GPT Image 2 is a ChatGPT model, except it's not offered for free on ChatGPT, I believe, and it is also the best, provides the best results and listens to the instructions the best. For image generation, although I I did jump around on several different tools, but when I was like putting together this presentation, I definitely realized that GPT Image 2 was the best possible tool for me to use. And then another tool I used was Topaz, and Topaz I used for a particular project that needed upscaling. And it's basically an AI upscaling platform, and in which, similar to Higgsfield, there are several different models within it, and they all are used to upscale videos. And within this, we found that Rhea and Rhea XL were the best possible models for upscaling to give the best quality results. And then I used a mixture of 3 different language models that you've all probably heard of, which is Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude. I started off with Gemini because that's something that I've already used in school, and it's just something I'm already comfortable with. And then, but I realized over time that Gemini doesn't always do what you tell it to do, and sometimes it makes up its own answers. So I then did some research, and I found that Claude and Higgsfield pair very well together. So then I started using Claude for a little bit, and then I would jump between the two, just for some baseline brainstorming, prompt optimization, whatever it is, that I would later feed into Higgsfield. And then sometimes my computer would be running a lot of different generations at the same time, so it was a better idea to pull out my phone and do some brainstorming and baseline activity in ChatGPT that I would also later put into Higgsfield because of how much overlap my projects were doing. And then to keep all of this organized, I used Excel. And on Excel was where we had script breakdowns, scene breakdowns of what I wanted to do and what I had to do, and like timestamps, and then would be like tables of audio, visuals, lines, whatever it was, so that I could be more organized in creating the final scripts. So my day-to-day generally changed, but overall it definitely just looked like I was typing away on my computer all day. So every single day I would basically start off where I left off the day before. And because I was jumping around from script to script, like I said, my days never would look the same. And so I would start off on whatever I was working on, and then I would, until I was happy with the scene, and then I would send it over, and if I received feedback, I would obviously use that feedback and implement it. But if I didn't receive any feedback, I would simply just jump onto whatever next project I was assigned or whatever next script that I had open for me to do. And I would basically do that, and that's all I did until my last day. And then some of the projects I worked on was, we started off the summer working on original scripts in order for me, as well as the other intern that I was working with, to be more comfortable with Higgsfield, be more comfortable with AI, and have some sort of structure for us to follow when we later worked on the other projects. And then we were brought on to work on a quick 3-second clip for a commercial for a company called Gray Bar. And then after finding some success with that, we were brought on to the KAI documentary, which is a documentary that Unbridled Media has been working on for over the course of several months. And then the most recent project that I worked on was I was able to help do some upscaling for some video clips for Amazon. So Gray Bar in particular was a commercial, and there was a 3-second segment that they wanted cut and they wanted replaced. And this is when AI was brought on the table, and this is when we were brought onto the project. And essentially we were given the instructions to make 2 separate clips. One, they're both 1950s-esque, and the first one was of a TV factory being built, a TV being built in a factory in the 50s, and the second one was a nuclear family sitting in a living room and watching said TV. And so I think the hardest part about this was that AI is modeled to like mimic 2026 high quality 4K technology, and that's not what 50s cameras look like, obviously. So we tried a lot of different things. We tried Googling 50s camera lenses, but for some reason it just wouldn't work. So I think what we ended up going with is that we would just deliver the clips in 4K, and it would be edited to add vignettes and grain in post. And I don't have the final edit or anything, but I do have the 2 clips that we sent in. And this first one is the one of the nuclear family. And the second one is the one of the TV factory. And then after finding some success with this project, we were brought on to KAI. And like I mentioned before, KAI was a project that Unbridled Media has been working on for several months now. And KAI is an architecture firm that is celebrating their 45th anniversary this year. And basically this documentary is telling the story of its founder as he became the first Black founder of an architecture firm in the Midwest. And but the thing is, we didn't have clips of him in as a child or as a teenager, so Unbridled Media was tasked with recreating those with AI. And the hardest part about this one was definitely having creating these avatars to look like him, just because we didn't have references of what exactly he looked like at the ages that we were going for, so we kind of had to play around with it until it finally worked. It was a lot of going back and forth, and also just asking Ben, does this look like him, does this not look like him, until we had good character sheets. This one right here is what we used for a young adult version of him, and similarly we had one of him as a teenager, and then we also had one of him as a child, so then whatever clips we were working on, we could just use this image as reference to make it look like him. And basically what we were tasked with doing is when we were brought on the project, it was already a full-fledged 30-minute documentary, so we were able to understand the story and see exactly what was going on. And there were already AI clips placed in between, so we weren't working from scratch or anything. But it was basically, there's several different interviews and shots of the office and stuff at the architecture firm, and in between these interviews of the founder, who his name is Michael Kennedy, there would be scenes of him as a child or him as a teenager through his journey progressing until he found the company. And the thing is, the AI clips simply didn't look like him, or they were age inaccurate, or there was just some discrepancies. Like I know one, he had like 3 arms in, and so that's what we had to fix. And the clip that I'm about to play for you is one where I think it had some of the most editing that I had to do, because 1, he didn't look like himself, and then 2, he had 3 arms carrying a stack of books rather than 2. And then AI has some trouble walking upstairs, so he was walking straight into a railing rather than walking up the staircase. So I had to turn him around and walk him up the stairs rather than sideways. And so this is what the final clip turned out to be like. So essentially we worked on several clips like that, and then they were all put into that documentary. And then I think one of the coolest parts of this project that I got to work on was, most recently, this is going to have a theatrical release for the company itself, and they asked Unbridled Media to create a movie poster, and during my last week here, I got to help create the movie poster. And so this was one of the designs that I had sent in. I sent in a couple because I was just trying to get in as much done before I had to be done with the internship. And this was just one that I thought I could show you guys today. So this is the founder, and this is the current president, I believe. And then these are some of the work, architecture work that he's done. And these were some of the other interviews that were in the documentary. And I just thought this was probably one of the coolest things that I got to work on while I was here. And
she did awesome. I have to jump in here really quick. She did awesome on that, and in a very short request window. And the client had the specific request to make it look like a Drew Struzan as the artist. You guys recognize that style from 80s and 90s movies, and she just nailed that just perfectly. So awesome on that one.
Thanks, mate.
The most recent project that I was working on was for Amazon. So in the end of June, the team went on a shoot in France for Amazon podcast clips. And essentially the idea was that they shot wide and then they would punch into different aspect ratios for different videos and different social media platforms. The thing is, when they zoomed in, the videos turned out to be more blurry and pixelated than what they wanted it to be. So that's when we had to feed all these videos in one by one into Topaz, which was the upscaling platform that I was talking about earlier, and upscale every single one of those videos. And for reference, this is a quick before and after. I feel like it's not as clear in image format than it was in the videos, but it definitely made a big difference in each of the clips that I was able to do. And then one quote that stood out to me was, it was probably something that Ben said in like passing, like it wasn't one that he said, this is a quote that you have to quote me on. But during my first Career Insight interview, I was looking through my transcript when I was writing, doing my assignment, and I was like, wait, that's actually really good, and I can use that in my presentation. So the quote was learn AI and embrace it, and I think that's just summed up my entire time here this summer. And I think learning AI is probably very important, especially with the conversation of will it take over, will it not. So I think being able to get ahead of the curve and learning at least a little bit about it is very important, and obviously that's what I got to do here this summer. Some of the highlights of my internship were definitely getting a laugh out of the good outtakes that I got. I have 2 image ones here, and I actually include a lot of the video ones at the end. But basically, that one over there is a KI clip. And we were just getting different angles of him on this bike, but for some reason, it ended up giving us this. And it kind of looked, we were joking that it looked like an album cover of some kind or some meme. And then this one, I was working on a horror script and I was trying to get some sort of dark hooded figure, but for some reason it gave me Ed Sheeran, and I don't know why, but I thought it was really funny. Yeah, I think this is when you were in France, so yeah. But
just to be clear, Ed Sheeran was not part of the prompt at all. Am I correct?
Yeah, Ed Sheeran was not. I
It's
didn't
amazing.
even make him ginger, so I didn't even know how he was generated. But I think, in all seriousness, I think one of the coolest parts of this internship was getting to see all the clips that I made put into a final edit. I think when working with 2-second, 3-second clips, it wasn't that much of a difference to me, but then seeing that put in the grand scheme of things was probably the most impactful part of my summer. So for some of my outcomes and takeaways from this internship, I wanted to share with you some of the full-length original scripts that I worked on. And we started off the summer working with 4 STL-based scripts, so Ted Drew's, STL Rams, and like Emo's Pizza. And I don't have all of them, I'm just sharing with you my favorites. And these are actually, they haven't gone through post or anything. I just placed them each together in the order that I wanted to go in so I could show you guys today. And this first one is a Ted Drew's rom-com script that we got to work on. And this was the first time that I got to work with flat editorial style rather than realistic. And I really liked working with this one because sometimes I'd get really annoyed at AI and because you'd have to generate it over and over again until it gave you the results you wanted. But for this one, because it was like illustration style, if I didn't like what the image gave me, I would just give it to my iPad and I would like fix it by myself, like by hand. So then I would get the results I wanted, and that just made this process a lot faster than it would have been if it would looked realistic. So that's something I enjoyed. But basically how this video worked was I would create I created the female character, and then I created the male character sheets, and then I would put them into this Ted Drew's background, and then I would tell them to move in certain ways, in certain manners, until I would get, and then say the certain lines, until I would get the results I wanted. And these are all like broken down scenes, and I'll show you why I broke them down later, because I realized that it doesn't work when you put it all together. But this is the script.
I'll take the cardinal sin.
Great minds think alike, I guess.
That's so good, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that was also one that I worked on after you left. And then this next one this is the first script that I got to work on like my first day here. It is a comedy script for STL Rams versus LA Rams, but we did run into some copyright issues with this one, so we had to change. I had to redraw the logo, I had to change the colors, and then just to be safe, we made the LA Rams into Las Vegas Rams just to be safe all around. This one I had a lot of fun with because I actually got to draw a lot of stuff. So I drew the logo, and then we were experimenting with different ways to get the location to be the same all around. So we actually drew like a map of what it should look like, and we didn't do that after that because we realized it was too much work, but it made sense for the time because it was the first time experimenting. And I also had a lot of fun with like facial expressions and like the comedy timing of this one, because this one I think we had a lot of creative freedom with. So here's the final result.
Dad, why aren't the Rams in St. Louis anymore? funny, buddy.
That was really great for not being edited and like
Yeah.
finessed together.
Yeah, I kind of just put it in
In
iMovie one
order.
by one in order because I didn't know like all the editing stuff about it. And then this next one is like more of a final project for me. It was the Halloween bugle spot, and this one is definitely one that needs some editing because I feel like it's a little bit more choppy. But and I'll explain how I made it to you after I play it because that'll make more sense. But basically, this one I would definitely say I had a lot of fun with because I think it's the funniest out of all the scripts, and I just enjoyed making it.
Hey, look, I'm a goblin. You never put bugles on your fingers when you were a kid and pretended to be like a creepy goblin or a ghoul?
You mean like this? Oh yeah, it really works.
Bugles! Become a goblin!
Is this permanent?
So that one, how I had to do it was I had to create a female character and then I had to create the male character like I would generally. And then after that, I had to go in and then I had to make a goblin, but then I had to make the goblin have the same build as the male character and the same outfit and the same hair as the male character. And then for the female, I had to make it a witch, but I had to have her have the same face as the original one. And then I think for this one, because it was like kind of made like a commercial, I had to have continuity through the whole thing because only in the first scene were they sitting in the couch like I wanted them to, and then after that I had to make sure they were in the same exact position for the rest of them. Even though it's like different close-up and wide shots, the continuity still like has to flow through the whole thing. So I think I had most trouble with like having them sit in the correct position. And I'd also say this one is probably something that you could put in 11 labs and fix the voiceover because it took me several times to get Higgsfield to say bugles instead of buggles for some reason. So yeah, I think, and just like the voices in general, they sounded a little bit AI to me. So that's something you can put into 11 labs or probably just fix in post anyway. But yeah. And then like I mentioned before, I did include some outtakes of like some of the weird generations that I got. And this first one was a very early version of the Gray Bar factory scene. And it's just anatomically incorrect because his finger goes straight through the knob. And this next one is like he goes through some sort of spell because he basically, this is a KI clip, and I was trying to change his face to look more like the character sheet that we had, and for some reason it ended up looking like this. And then this next one is the one that I was talking about how I'd explained to you why I had to break it up instead of put together. So this was the Ted Drew script, and this was when I started working in July, so I had already become pretty comfortable with the platform. So I decided I wanted to, because there was only like 3 scenes in the script, I wanted to see if I could fit all 3 scenes into 15 seconds, like 3 different 5-second segments, and just do one prompt and get it done with. AI can't do that yet. So I tried like 10 different generations of 15-second clips and it just would not work. And I'll show you why. Because it's the same thing, but the lines don't make any sense.
I'll take the cardinal
He's
sin.
ordering in the wrong direction.
Great
And
minds
then
think
the
alike.
next scene, their hands are supposed to meet on the cup, but instead their fingers do this weird little. And that's the entire clip. And I actually tried, like this was probably an earlier one. I kept going. I was like, wait, this is close. I can get to it. But then I think after like a full day of just 15-second clips, I was like, this is not working. That's when I realized you have to break it up and be more specific within each instruction rather than putting it all together. Even though I had put like timestamps, like from 00 to 01, you have to do this. But for some reason, it just wouldn't listen. And I just don't think AI has updated that much yet. But for some of my key learnings and places for growth this summer, I think I had 3 places of growth in particular. And I'd say those are my technical skills, my professionalism, and my personal growth. On the technical side, I definitely think I learned more about it and I was able to improve prompt engineering and optimization. And one thing I did not expect to learn about, but I did, I learned a lot of different names for camera angles, and like there are several different camera like lenses and stuff, which I didn't know. But because I had to get like certain results that I wanted with AI, I had to learn a lot of different camera lingo, which I'm happy I learned about that. And then the next thing was I was able to build a workflow for us that worked pretty well throughout the entire summer and document it all for future use. And then and on a professional standpoint, I'd say I definitely was able to be more adaptable, especially because AI updates like every week, especially in Higgsfield. I think like every Monday there was something new, something changed, like whether it's just like the layout of the website or whatever it is, it would update like constantly. So every Monday I would basically be on a new platform. And then definitely time management was something I got to improve this summer because I was kind of left on my own to figure out what I needed to work on, what I didn't need to work on, and I think that was good for me because I was able to manage my time between the client work that I was working on and the internal work that I was working on, and but still get it done all in a timely manner. Just because I was left on my own, I didn't really have that guidance. I think that actually helped me. And then in terms of personal growth, I'm more confident in working in a professional environment. And I'd say the most important thing for me is as an introvert, I was able to be more comfortable working and collaborating with others and being open enough to share my ideas as well as listen to others' ideas and implement all of that into my work. And to wrap things up, I wanted to extend a thank you to all those who have made my summer so impactful. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Ben, my mentor, for your help, trust, and guidance throughout this summer. When I was accepted into this internship program, I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing this summer, but I'm really lucky to have had you as my mentor. And then John isn't here today, but I'd like to extend a thanks to John, who is the internship coordinator here at Unbridled Media, for stepping in, especially in July, and steering me in the right direction. And then also Cole isn't here today because he's back at school, but he's the other intern that I worked with for my first couple of weeks. And I'd also like to thank him for immediately jumping in and collaborating with me, as well as helping me get comfortable on the platform when I first started. And then finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Bealey, my internship coordinator with Rockwood, for organizing this opportunity for me and helping and guiding me through this internship program. I've had a blast working with all of you, and I'm so grateful for the role that you guys have played in my professional development this summer. And with that, I'd like to open up the floor to you guys for any questions that you have for me.
Well, first